You take a step, you fight and encounter. You take a step, you fight and encounter. You take a step, you fight and encounter. If that didn't drive you insane, it is very possible that Arcana is the game for you. Arcana is a first-person dungeon crawler that I would have enjoyed a lot more if I had realized the game makes its own auto-map as you are playing. But I didn't notice there was a map option in the dungeon menu until like 48 minutes into playing, so I ended up suffering like I typically do in a dungeon crawler without an auto-map, where I say, no, I don't need to draw my own map, and then I get lost for 15 minutes, frustrated, start drawing my own map, and that is when I realize the game makes its own map. And it looks pretty good, to be honest. Very understandable. But yeah, let's actually start at the beginning now. This game has a story, but I only vaguely remember it. The main character's name is Rooks. His parents were some kind of freedom fighters or something and were betrayed and murdered, but the game doesn't say murdered, even though it says killed in like the third text box you see in this game. I'd criticize this decision less if they were at least consistent, but using killed in one place then not another is just a weird decision. Beyond that, you just start in a village with no context as to what you're doing. I actually wandered around exploring the buildings. Seems there's an alchemist who you can talk to and buy an elixir, but I don't know what that does because I didn't buy it. An armory where you can buy equipment and items, an inn where you can sleep and save the game, and a fortune teller lady who does something, I guess. I'm not actually sure. I ended up buying some equipment. The equipment screen unfortunately has letters at the bottom that I assume the first letter of every party member in the game, so you know who can equip it, I guess. I should point out that you start with a sylph in your party, but I am not sure how to describe the sylph besides Rook's persona. She's like a tank with weak melee attacks that can't equip anything, but eventually learns magic. I'm sure I'm missing something about her. Maybe you can summon some other elemental friends later in the game, or maybe you can summon them right from the beginning. Maybe it's described in the manual. I didn't read it, so I'm not sure. But she was not super useful to me initially. Tifa, on the other hand, a party member who you get before you enter the first dungeon for the first time, appears to be your typical Final Fantasy white mage type character. She can't equip the more effective weapons and armor, but she does get faster access to more utility spells. Although Rook's got the attack down spell, so I'm not exactly sure how accurate that is. It's actually more of a Dragon Quest thing. Man, I'd love if I could make videos about Dragon Quest, but I'm pretty sure none of the Dragon Quest games for the Super Nintendo got official releases in the US. Maybe one day I'll talk about them, but not in this series. The actual first dungeon that you explore looks very samey as you explore it, and I personally found this first floor not quite enjoyable to explore. But remember, I was lost for 15 minutes, and it absolutely was not the game's fault because I had a map that could show me exactly where I was at any given time that I simply wasn't aware existed. Combat is a little bit slow even for a turn-based RPG, and there was never a single random encounter that I fought that I couldn't be solved with mashing the attack button. Again, like most JRPGs in the beginning. But I will point out that even after playing for an hour and fighting the first mini boss, it had boss music, but it didn't appear to be a real boss. I didn't have any real reason to do anything but attack and have Sylph use her one offensive spell that she eventually got. And I did use the attack down spell on the boss because I was scared, and Shin Megami Tensei games have trained me to actually use buffs and debuffs in encounters I am unfamiliar with. I'll also mention that in addition to the kind of ridiculous encounter rate you have to work with in this game, there are recolored enemies on the first floor of the first dungeon. Typically, I don't care about enemy recolors, but having them literally in the same place does feel a little lazy. I do think the enemy art and the art in general in this game is very cool, and I think it's some of the best pixel art we've seen so far in this series, barring Final Fantasy IV's combat sprites. I haven't mentioned it yet, but I love the music in the game. It is consistently high quality, and I never got tired of it, which is good for a game where you're going to be hearing certain songs a ridiculous number of times. Ultimately, I can't give you a real verdict on this game beyond you interpreting if what I've told you about it is appealing to you or not. I had a really good time, and I would absolutely have kept playing this game if I was playing it casually. HowLongToBeat.com doesn't actually have much data, but it looks like this game takes around 14 hours to beat, and I don't think this game would overstay its welcome for me playing it that long, assuming nothing horrible happens after the first hour, which I definitely can't guarantee, as the Wikipedia article for this game literally has a section complaining about how hard the game is for some reason. If you want to play an old JRPG, but you've played most of the popular Super Nintendo RPGs, I think this might be worth checking out. If you like this video, please like it, and if you like the idea of hearing me talk about playing every Super Nintendo game in US release order, please subscribe to my channel, as that's exactly what I do here. Next time we're going to be talking about Jack Nicklaus Golf, a bad golf game. So look forward to it. Have a good day.